I woke up with basically no memory of my life, and I didn't really have any memory of my activities before. Although since then, some stuff has certainly come back, um, but it was pretty dramatic. Yes.
Hello and welcome to Cancer Friends. I'm Andrew Schorr in San Diego, and joining me from Banff, Alberta, Canada is Richard Bandy. Hi, Richard.
Hello, Andrew. It's good to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So Richard has an incredible story, which I think will inspire many people. He was diagnosed with a rare cancer. Some people have heard of it, jelly belly. What's the official name of it, Richard?
Pseudomyxoma peritonei. PMP is what it's called. If you look it up on
Okay.
Google, it's PMP.
Rare cancer, and where your abdomen was kept filling with mucus.
Yes.
And that's pretty scary. We're going to talk with Richard about what his life was like before, how he got through this very serious cancer and, quite frankly, almost died, and how he's put a life back together for himself in Banff, where he's a pretty active guy. So, Richard, let's start at the beginning. You were for many years in physical therapy. Were you a physical guy? Did you do sports? What did you do?
I did a lot of sports. Actually, I was athlete of the year at my high school. I played basketball, volleyball, tennis, skiing, biking, hiking, badminton, ping pong, pretty much any sport with a racket and a ball, I played it. And then became a physical therapist. Actually went to school on a phys ed program, graduated, did a master's in exercise physiology, got married, got pregnant, moved to Banff, and then lived there for 8 years, and then moved down to the States to become a physical therapist. And that's was our span. Yes.
Okay, but being physical, both with your patients and yourself and all your interests, that was a basic part of you.
No question. Yes, I was always very active and enjoyed physical activity very much.
Okay, but then kind of a bomb hits, and I understand you had a TB test.
Yes.
When was that? What happened, and what eventually became your diagnosis?
It was in late spring of 2000. And because I was a physical therapist, we had to do annual TB tests at the time. And so I did a TB test. It came back positive, ended up being a false positive. They went in and did a chest x-ray on me the next day, and it turned out that I had some fluid in my lungs. So I went to the hospital, they biopsied the fluid, found this mucus, and came up with this diagnosis of pseudomyxoma peritonei, which is a mucus-producing tumor that comes off your appendix, and your body fills up with mucus until you die from it. And so I had surgery there in June of 2000. They took a gallon of mucus out of me, took my appendix, sewed me back up. I was back at work like 10 days later and continued on, although I got regular checkups every year. And after 3 years, the cancer came back. And so the oncologists in Seattle were telling me that possibly I could just do debulking every 2 or 3 years. To try and rid myself of the mucus, but eventually it would scar down to the point where they couldn't do surgery and I would eventually die from the disease. So I looked around to find if there was some other place that I could go, found a place, and had the big surgery, which is this 12-hour cut me from xiphoid to pubis, take all my organs out, scrape all the mucus off by hand, sew me back up, put heated chemotherapy into me 12 hours a day for 5 days, and then send me on my way, hopefully.
Now, that part of it worked.
Yes,
right?
it did.
Yeah, but this is a major abdominal surgery for a rare cancer, and it's delicate. And you had a complication where you were bleeding with a nicked artery, and that affected the oxygen to your brain. What effect did that have?
Well, I woke up with basically no memory of my life, and later on, I was asked, what my first memory was coming back from the hospital. And I remember walking down the hallway towards a window with my IV pole in my hand. And that was the first memory I had after the surgery. And Sonia later told me, my wife told me that it was 2 weeks after the surgery. That's my first memory of anything in the hospital. And I didn't really have any memory of my activities before. Although since then, some stuff has certainly come back. But it was pretty dramatic, yes. I didn't really say more than 2 or 3 words to anybody for the first year after the surgery. I could speak, but I just didn't really have anything to say, or I was unable to initiate thought sort of things, and I just had no idea what to say to people.
Wow. So language, memory, you did get to go home, but you had to work with an expert and your wife to try to get your life back. And that's taken years, right?
Yes. I tell people that physically it was probably 5 to 7 years before I was able to do like 80% of the stuff I was able to do before the surgery. Mentally, probably, well, I still have issues. I still do accommodation strategies for things that I forget. And I still don't remember anything from really much before we even married, or I don't remember the births of my kids. There's still some things that I don't remember that I wish I remembered. But for the most part, I'm functional. I can go to the grocery store. I can drive. I can do a lot of things that people have difficulty doing regardless. So I'm very grateful to be here.
Let's talk about your activities.
Mm-hmm.
So there you are, having been a very active guy physically. You go through this very rare cancer, major surgery, complications, you lose your memory, you can't speak really. So how have you put things back together to be a physically active guy that seems to give you joy?
It does. It gives me a lot of joy, especially living in Banff. I mean, it's such a magnificent place in terms of its surroundings. The mountains are just spectacular around here. And so I started pretty easily. I mean, walking to the end of the driveway and back was enough for the first couple of months sort of thing. But then eventually we got into walking and then hiking. Biking took a while. I eventually got a little mountain bike and started doing some trails around where we were living. Skiing was a real challenge. I came back up to Banff for the first time, maybe 10 years after the surgery, and had not skied in the meantime since before the surgery. And I'd skied 100 days one year when I worked up at Sunshine Village, one of the ski resorts locally. And so I was a good skier, but I was really freaked out about being on the slopes with my head above my skis. And I mean, I was really fearful the first few times that I went out, but now I'm back to skiing, pretty good blue runs sort of things. And I skied 60 days this last year, which was obviously, wonderful. So.
Wow. So Richard, what gets you up in the morning? I mean, as I hear it, you're leading like a second life. You fortunately survived. You've put your life back together pretty well. So when you wake up in the morning with this beautiful setting you're in, Banff, the Rocky Mountains there, these beautiful mountains, the ski areas, the hiking trails, and you being a physical guy, what gives you a zest for life?
I will tell you that the natural surroundings that we live in really engage me. I love just waking up in the morning and looking out at the mountains, first thing. And I don't have a lot of commitments right now, which is really good for me because I'm retired. And I mean, I'll have some chores to do around the house or grocery shopping or, activities that keep us busy. But I don't really have many constraints on me right now, which I'm very, very grateful for. And I just wake up happy to be here, basically, is my thing, happy to be here at all, happy to be anywhere.
So I want an image of that. So when you go down that blue run now,
yes.
Where maybe you went down the double diamonds years ago, but that you still can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Is there sort of a exhilaration that happens?
There's no question. It's one of the most exhilarating experiences that I have currently in my life. Skiing is this controlled falling sort of thing. And if you're just kind of falling, and just kind of experiencing the snow and the wind and the sky, it really is very thrilling to me. Yeah, I enjoy it very much.
Now you said you also do biking.
Yep.
And you know, I know where you live. You can go biking on a trail and you could meet a bear.
Yes.
Okay, which could be another challenge to your life. So you like that kind of exploring as well? You have thousands and thousands of acres to explore there.
Yes, Sonia and I bought e-bikes a year ago to try them out. And it's been a game changer for us because there are so many miles of trails around us that we've kind of explored a little bit. And Sonia had not been on a bike in like 35 years before last year. And so when we started riding again, it was just a marvelous experience. We take books and we go out by the river and sit at the beach or sit at the side of the river and read books for a little bit, or we'll travel around and go to different trails. We've actually, when we were in Utah, vacationing earlier this year, we took our bikes, rode through the national parks, hooked them up, and then went for a hike, came back to the bikes, and then rode back to the car. It was just magnificent.
Let's talk about that. So e-bikes is a good example. There are people like me where trying to ride a standard bike, I may be huffing and puffing and it may be difficult. There are adaptive ways of living now. E-bike is an example. What would you say to cancer survivors who maybe aren't back to 100%, but there's a world out there and there are things they're interested in to find ways to do it, even if it's different or more limited?
I would say that it's definitely worthwhile. It's worth investigating what is available out there because there are some different technologies and different adaptive devices that are out there for walking or hiking or biking or swimming or boating. There's just lots of different things out there. And I think the focus for me was on concentrating what I could do because there were so many things that I couldn't do for a number of years after the surgery. I couldn't, walk more than a mile. I couldn't run at all. My thinking was still pretty wobbly in the first few years for sure. And so for me, I concentrated on the little things that I could do. The first time I went to the grocery store by myself, this was after I'd become certified to be able to drive again, which was about maybe a year after the surgery. And so I went to the grocery store and I was just kind of overwhelmed by the numbers of things on the shelves and, just kind of went down 2 or 3 aisles and then left and went back home and got maybe half the stuff I was supposed to get. But that in itself was very thrilling for me because, I was able to do something on my own and it was just a great sense of accomplishment. So finding things that I could do on my own and just little progressions that I made week after week or month after month was very important to me.
Okay. There are people, though, who have limitations. They used to lead a more active life. Now they're struggling to get back to some of it. And it's kind of, quite frankly, depressing. Mm-hmm. And I imagine you had to work through that too, a sense of loss. How have you gotten past that to celebrate what you can do?
That took some time. There's no question about it. Initially, after the surgery, I was actually at such a low state of thought processing. I didn't really feel sorry for myself at all. I was just kind of surviving. And that went on for a number of months to the point where, maybe a year out sort of things, I started thinking about things that I couldn't do, things that I was trying to be able to do. One of the big things for me was becoming a physical therapist again, because my neuropsychologist told me I probably could not do it because the amount of thought processing and cognitive processing that it required. And so I told him that I was going to do it regardless. So I became my full-time job is reading orthopedic manual therapy textbooks. And I'd read a chapter and I'd forget 80% of it and read it and forget 80% of it. And I just kept doing it and doing it. Perseverance was a big thing for me. And I eventually became a physical therapist. I returned to physical therapy and worked at it for another 10 years after the surgery. I thought that was, that was pretty good.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. All right. So, how do you see the rest of your life now as far as hopefully continued recovery and enjoying life and those activities?
Um, I'm very much looking forward to what's ahead of us. Hopefully, we're going to be able to travel a little bit over the course of the next few years. COVID notwithstanding, sort of things. But I'm hopeful about traveling and experiencing some different parts of the world that I've never seen before. And the other thing is just the accommodation strategies, because sometimes I'll forget that I actually have a brain injury, and it does happen. I mean, and I'll be in a store and I'll try to remember something and I haven't written it down and I forget. And I'm always conscious of the fact that I'm not quite where I need to be or whether I would like to be. And so I'm always working a little bit to try and either shore up my accommodation strategies or put myself through some paces or do some little mental mind games on my phone, sort of things to try and keep my memory going. But I'm really optimistic that that we have a fairly long life ahead of us, health notwithstanding, but I'm hopeful.
I hope so. Well, like so many people who've been treated for cancer, there can be life after cancer, and it may be different. It may not be 100% of what it was before, maybe different,
Yeah.
maybe 100% in a different way. And I really wish you well. You're in a beautiful setting in Banff. You have the natural beauty all around you, and it sounds like you're taking advantage of that. So, Richard, I just see you biking and going down those ski runs, and your heart beating fast and just really enjoying it. That's a great image for me.
Thank you, Andrew. There's two things I would actually like to say, two changes that occurred. One, after the brain injury, I used to get really bad motion sickness before the cancer. And after the surgery, I haven't had a single bout of motion sickness since. And it's been almost 20 years. And I've been in boats and planes, and I would have thrown up multiple times on some of these things. Had never happened, which is really strange for me. The second thing is that I went from being a visual learner to a kinesthetic learner. And so once I got my hands on patients, when I returned to physical therapy, I returned in a volunteer capacity with a friend of the neuropsychologist that was treating me at the time. And once I got my hands on people, my hands started doing things my brain really wasn't connected to, and it was just started working on their own. And that's kind of how I relearned my physical therapy, was getting my hands on people. And that was kind of interesting as well.
Wow. So it's an adventure. So life can be different.
Yeah.
But it can be fascinating in a
Yes.
way.
Yeah. For me, it's been a real adventure afterward, trying to figure out what's different and what's the same. Yeah.
Okay. Well, continue that adventure, Richard Bandy. Thank you so much for being with us. And I know your story, incredible as it is, can give people a lot of hope that you can have a pretty full life after even being treated very aggressively for a cancer. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Andrew. My pleasure.